What is up, everybody? The Mount Sparta 24-hour race is complete in the bag, and we learned a lot of lessons, a lot of valuable lessons from that race. I actually ended up getting third place overall. I got my finisher medals, I got a bag full of swag, got a shirt, got a bottle, and a bunch of other stuff. Spartan Race is always giving out a bunch of cool swag on the races, but the most important thing and the most valuable thing that I actually learned from that race was the ability to reach into the pits of despair, pull out lessons about perseverance, ultra running, gear, and so much more. Now, if you haven't been following along, the Mount Sparta 24-hour race is a 24-hour endurance run going up and down the same mountain for 24 hours over and over and over again. That trail is 1.6 miles up and down with 1,000 feet of elevation gain in the first 0.8 of a mile. So that means a very, very hard climb up and a very steep run down. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get a lot of clips or videos on the trail or during the run, just because that run was so different from the 50 milers, the 100Ks, the 100 milers that I did in the past, that I had to make sure that I was actually paying attention and had the mental fortitude and made sure that I got everything right while I was doing the race. I didn't want to be running down the mountain with the camera in my hand, slip, trip, and fall, and then fall down the mountain because, I've done that in the past before. So this is going to be more of a race report. I did get a couple clips, here and there, so I'll throw them in when they are relevant. But let's get right into the preparation of this race. I did a live stream where I did a layout of all the gear and food just to make sure I didn't forget anything before I headed up to Vermont. If you want to watch that video, I'll link it below. If I can figure out the little floating things, I'll put it up there. I do a good breakdown of my nutrition plan, of everything that I'm going to bring, and all the gear, and my thought process on what I was going to wear, eat, and cool myself down during this 24-hour race. Now, the night before this run, I had to work, so regular 9 to 5. It was actually, I think I worked until 6 that day just because I was traveling. I have to travel back and forth, and my commute is pretty long, especially in the Northeast on Fridays. On Fridays in the Northeast, everybody is pretty much coming from New York, Rhode Island, and going up to Vermont and New Hampshire, all to the mountains. So the traffic was absolutely ridiculous. It got completely destroyed by traffic that whole day. Didn't get home until like 6:30 or 7. Had to pack everything up real quick. Had to get the babies, had to get the wife and the dog into the van and make my way up to Vermont as soon as I could before it was too late and I wasn't able to get, really good sleep. But as chaotic as it was, we got everything in, got up to the hotel, and was able to actually check in. The hotel we were in was really small, and if you have, 2 babies and a dog, it can get a little bit chaotic. But we ended up getting some good rest that night. In the morning, I was able to actually hit up the continental breakfast down there, and I was able to get a pretty good lunch at a gas station. I think I got a sandwich at a gas station before we headed over to the race area. When we got to the race area, I grabbed all my coolers and all my gear and put it underneath a little tent. They had like 2 or 3 tents set up for all the runners. So I found a little area, sectioned off my little area where I would be doing all my refueling and resting between iterations going up and down the mountain. Now, I'm fairly impatient, if you guys haven't noticed, or just how I'm talking right now. I'm fairly impatient. So it felt like an eternity waiting for that race to start. I had to distract myself by playing with the babies and, checking my gear over and over and over again. So a lot of fidgeting waiting for that race. But when the race finally started, I made sure that I was wearing the Superior the Ultra Superior 5s. I was rocking that, and then I was also rocking this Ultra Aspire. Aspire? I don't even know how to say that. Ultra Aspire Speedgoat 3. So I wanted to make sure that the gear wasn't on my back and that I could properly cool off So I want to keep as much possible weight or fabric off of my actual core. So that's why I went with like an actual waist pack. And in this waist pack, I only carried one bottle just because the mountain iterations were about 35 to 45 minutes going up and down. It usually took around 45 minutes. So I carried one bottle with 200 to 250 calories of tailwind in it with me. And then I would also carry one of the packs of the clef blocks, which have 200 calories, and every 30 minutes I would take 100 calories of that. So usually during each iteration, I would drink that whole bottle and then take one serving of the clef blocks, equaling out around 300 calories for each iteration. So that's what I started with. The race started. Everybody was super excited. I think the race director was messing with the runners just because he said that they were going to give a special award to the male and female runner that came off the mountain the fastest during that first iteration. And that really prompted a few people to sprint off that that finish or that first. It's like a finish start line. So a few people just, blazed onto the mountain and freaking took off. They were going fast, like super, super fast. I made sure that I didn't get sucked into it, and I just kept it nice and slow. Really taking in that first iteration to really understand the course and try to figure out those sticky spots or those tricky spots in the actual course for later on in the actual race. I wanted to really understand how that course was situated or set up, especially for the nighttime. I knew there was some rain that was supposed to come in, so I wanted to know that trail like the back of my hand by the time the actual night iteration started. So I was about halfway up, and the first guy that took off actually passed me coming down. I gave him a little hoop and holler, like, "Yeah, you go, man. Hell yeah." And he was just like blazing his way down that mountain. It was super exciting. I kind of picked it up for a little bit, but then caught myself and slowed back down just because I wanted to make sure that I was moving for that whole 24 hours and not having to take like a big break or really, really long rest period or blow out and, have to slowly walk for the last portion of the actual run. So kept it nice and calm, got to the top of the mountain. There's this red door that you're supposed to touch every time you go up the mountain. So touched the red door, gave it a little slap, and started working my way back down. When I got to the bottom of the mountain, I was finishing right with the first female, finishing her first iteration, and she was blazing the entire time. She surged up and then ran as fast as she could back down. She pushed herself so hard that she actually was like almost yakking or throwing up at the at the bottom of the mountain. It was super awesome, and I thought that was pretty awesome how freaking hard she pushed herself. Her name was Abby. She was like a super short lady, like probably like 5'2", 5'4". She's always super happy, always super nice and smiling and saying hello to everybody every time she would pass somebody on the trail. So word up to Abby. Those are the type of people that we need on these trails, just because it brings a little bit of motivation when you see a smiling face. She actually ended up being the first place women's finisher, so big shout out to Abby. So at the bottom of the mountain, after every iteration, you had to write down your time, and then you were able to refuel and relax, get whatever you needed from your coolers, and then head back up. So for the first couple hours, it was just really that, just kind of power hiking up the mountain as fast as I could, and then running back down to the start line, refueling, getting the calories, replacing what I needed in my bottles, or eating whatever supplement I needed. But it was a lot of the same stuff over and over again for the first few hours. In the beginning of the race, the weather wasn't too bad. It was probably around like 70 to 75, but as we were on the mountain and as the hours started rolling on, the heat really started heating up, probably around like 85 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. I think that's where it actually peaked. All right, so we are on the trail about 5 hours in, 50 miles. I think I'm on iteration about 9. So slowly working my way up and then trying to run down. What I've been noticing on the way up, I've been getting not really cramping, but just tightness inside the teardrop right here. So kind of keeping it light, increasing nutrition and salt intake and hydration. It's only about 35 to 45 minutes up and down. So I usually only carry 1 bottle, or I just haven't been carrying a bottle with me, taking in all my nutrition back at the base camp. I'll probably put my pack on again pretty soon, just so I have nutrition with me the whole time. But things are going good. Spirits are high. Feeling good. Cardio's good. Legs are good besides the legs going up. Hopefully it'll work itself out. Try to increase the sodium intake, help that out a little bit. But let's keep going. Let's keep moving. Hour 5. So yeah, after increasing my salt intake and my water intake, that tight teardrop issue passed, and it didn't happen again for the whole race. I'm super glad that I did a lot of training that emulated this race, just because I knew how to troubleshoot that exact issue. During that 6.5 hour training run that I did, it started popping up, and then I started taking salt and it went away. When I first started training for this run on Mount Major, I had that issue, and I had to figure out exactly how to get rid of it and how to properly fuel myself to, push that issue away. And it oh my God, it's super helped. That's why I always go on and on about, specification of training and making sure that you're training for the race that you're actually going to be running. If I was running flats or if I was just running on trails, it's a lot different than just going up and down, because you give your legs that rest when you're running on the flat ridge line, or you're running on really flat trails. It's just such a different stimulus on your legs. So once again, if you don't do it, always train for the race that you're running. Try to emulate it as much as possible in your training, because it really, really, really freaking helps. My nutrition ended up being 200 calories from tailwind, 100 calories from those cleft blocks, and then 2 or 3 salt tabs every hour. I also ate, the honey stinger waffles every 2 or 3 hours for, supplemental calories. And I also supplemented peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, the Uncrustables. They're freaking amazing. Kids love them. I love them. Everybody loves them. If you don't like those Uncrustables, there's something freaking wrong with you. But I ate one of those every 6 hours or so, just to get a little bit more protein, a lot of sugar, and a little bit of carbs, just to supplement on my actual nutrition. I never felt like I was really lacking in anything besides having, that teardrop issue that I fixed pretty quickly. I think in the future, I'll definitely be taking the salt right away, or at least within the first hour of running an ultra marathon. And I might add an additional bottle of clean water, just like regular water. My coach says that you should probably be peeing every 3 hours. That's a really good indication that you're properly hydrated. And I think there was stretches where it went from like 4 to 5 hours before I was actually peeing. So I might have been just a little bit dehydrated. However, I am a super, super freaking heavy sweater. So I'm always drenched in sweat. So the amount of water and nutrition that I need to drink might be a lot different than you. So definitely check out your sweat rate. If you have the ability to talk to a sports dietitian or a coach, make sure that you're trying to find out how much nutrition you actually need every hour. And it really, really helps. It really makes that difference. I mean, in my training, it's made so much of a difference focusing on my hydration and nutrition during these runs. So yeah, it was the same thing for the first, 8 to 10 hours until night came. And when the night came, the rain came. And when the rain came, the muddy, slippery trails came. I had to make sure that I slowed down a lot, just in case I slipped and fell and rolled down the rolled down the mountain. I really didn't want to get injured during this race. So my iteration times up and down went from like 45 minutes to like an hour to an hour 15 every iteration. I only had two goals going into this race, and that was to come out uninjured and to learn some valuable lessons from this race. My actual key race is the Mid-State Massive in October. So I didn't want to risk that race for this one. I just wanted to get some good training out of it and some good lessons out of it. Yeah, I probably could have pushed myself a little bit harder, especially during the night iteration, but the risk to benefit ratio just wasn't there. So I made sure that I slowed down quite a bit during the night. Um, I actually had to pull out my waterproof jacket, and those waterproof jackets, especially during, ultra marathons, are really hard hiking sessions or long hiking sessions. It's not about staying dry, it's morely about staying warm. No matter what, you're going to be completely soaked, whether it's sweat or if it's rain, you're just going to be completely soaked, even with that waterproof jacket. It's just to make sure that your heat doesn't escape, so you're nice and warm while you're moving up and down that trail. So threw that puppy on, and that's also where I found out the fatal flaw from the Superior 5s. I did a full review of the Superior 5s, and I talked in depth about, their wet weather performance. But these Superior 5s were slipping all over the place, and I had to change my shoes from the Superior 5s to the Olympus 4s, where I had a lot more grip, and I was, able to actually a lot more confidently go down that hill when it was fully muddy and slippery. Once water hits these shoes, they pretty much become ice skates. So that's a fatal flaw of the Superior 5s. If you want to check that out, I'll link it below, or put a little pop-up so you can watch that in-depth review for the Superior 5s. Now, I did actually have some problems with my Olympus 4s, and it's pretty freaking annoying when you're having shoe problems or gear problems in like hour 16, hour 18, where these stupid Olympus 4s, the insoles, if you can see, it's like kind of creased right there. When I was running down, it like it crumpled up and like was cutting at my toes. I don't know what's up with these insoles. I don't know if I have to glue them in or just take them out completely, but it seems to be a problem with those insoles when you're doing really, really steep declines. The insoles like to slip. I don't know, it's always on my right foot, so it might have been just a defect, but that's an issue that I was running into with the Olympus 4s on the back end of the actual race. Good grip though, and that's why I switched to them. But other than that, everything was working really well. All my gear was working well, and I was feeling really good. I never got really sleepy, never got really tired or anything like that. I didn't really feel like I was being overworked or anything like that, especially because I was slowing down during the night iteration. My muscles didn't feel overly tired or beat up. I didn't have any sharp stinging pain anywhere. My feet were getting a little beat up, but I was taking maybe less than 5-minute breaks after each iteration, and then every couple hours or so I'll take a little bit longer break, maybe like 5 full minutes or around 10 minutes break when I actually needed it. So felt really good. We made it out of the night. I couldn't take out the GoPro because it was super slippery, and I was just trying not to die. As you can tell, it's raining. I'm about lap 24, 43 miles in, 18 hours and 37 minutes. So this video is not going to have much shots on course, but I'll try to get as much as possible. Nutrition has been going good. Been shoving freaking tailwind in my freaking mouth, and Red Bulls. I've been cracking into the Red Bulls, taking some Tylenol because man, all this elevation gain has been destroying my knees. And then trying not to slip on the way down. Is pretty much a slip and slide all the way down. So having to brake and then catch myself over and over again, it's just been killer on my feet. So kind of slowed down. Don't want to get hurt on this race just because it's not a key race. So kind of cooling down, going a little bit slower so I don't freaking twist an ankle or fall or do anything and then out for my next race. So gonna get a couple more miles in. Maybe when this rain gets done, I'll try to get another update, but still feeling good. Nice and dirty. And wet, but spirits are high. Got about 5.5 hours left. Let's get this race done. On to the next one, but try to get some more updates before we get off this course. Okay, let's go. After I got done filming that clip, the sun really started to come out and I started picking everything up just because I could see, the sun, rejuvenated me and I could see the end of the actual race coming up. So for the last 4 to 5 hours of the race, I really started moving like it was the first 4 hours or 5 hours of the race. I felt fresh and well rested just from slowing down for so long during the night. And I started charging up the hill again and somewhat running where I could back down. It was still muddy and slippery, so I still had to be careful, but I tried to move as fast as I could when I could while moving down back to the finish line. That was the one thing about this race that was pretty cool, is you could pretty much do it however you wanted. So if you wanted to take a really long rest, like for a couple hours, you could. There was a few people that actually, went really fast during the daytime, fully went to sleep at night, and then woke up in the morning and did a couple more iterations. So it's really at your own pace. You could go as fast or as slow as you wanted. You can take as many breaks as you wanted. You could go to sleep if you want. You could do whatever you want. You could probably go to your hotel, have a shower, a bath, have a couple beers, whatever you wanted to do. But there were a couple psychos out there, myself included, that just went all evening, all night, and then all morning. So big shout out to everybody, no matter how fast or how many iterations you went. Big shout out to everybody out there just completely crushing it. That was basically it for the last couple hours. Everybody was kind of charging up and down the mountain. Some people were rejuvenated from taking rest. Some people were zombies, and other people were just motivated because they were starting to see the finish line. Everybody was super excited at the end of the race. I ended up going up and down that 1.6 mile trail 30 total times with 27,927 feet of elevation gain and a total of 54.6 miles on that mountain, on that same trail, over and over again. Once again, I placed third overall, and I got an ass load of training stimulus that I can take into the Mid-State Massive 100 in October. That was such a great race and a very interesting format that I would definitely do again. I hope to see those monsters that were running that trail with me in races again, and I hope you guys are out there crushing it and kicking ass like you did on that mountain with me. So yeah, hopefully I was able to paint a pretty good picture of this race for you. I hope in the future that I'm able actually to film a lot more during these ultra marathon races. I'm going to be doing a little bit more videos on this actual race, just very specific things that I learned during this first 24-hour race. I'm going to be running the Mid-State Massive 100 in October, and I got a couple winter ultra marathons that I am yet to announce, but they're coming soon. So I'm going to be running a lot, training a lot. If you want to follow along, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, because I'm going to be doing some live streams also. So make sure that you like and subscribe my channel. It really does help. But no matter what, it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you're out there crushing it. It doesn't matter if you're an office worker, a paramedic, firefighter, stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home dad. It doesn't matter who you are. As long as you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, chipping away, becoming an average savage, you're 22 hours into a death race, just freaking turning into a zombie, dying, dehydrated, sucking, and you can look at people, smile, and say what's up and continue to surge forward. That's all that matters. And if you're not at that point, as long as you're working towards that point, That's all that fucking matters. Push yourself outside of your comfort zone. Seek pain, seek discomfort, because that's how you become an average fucking savage. Let's get out there and get it. Let's go.